Hey everybody, we're going to go over the charter for SFAL 2022. Some changes have been made. Worthwhile taking a look at them. Let's see here. Computer's a little bit slow. Okay, here it is in the red line format, which is how it went up. I just want to walk through the changes with you. See here the salary cap up to 592, and this has happened because we've increased the total roster by 4 spots for reasons that we'll get into shortly. I'm just going to scroll through to any of the important track changes. Of course, look at them all. I'm just going to hit the highest points, but you should definitely look at each one of them. We'll get through here. Okay. Nothing to go. Okay, so let's start here. The auction itself. So we're going to move to a auction that was a lot like the second day as opposed to the first day. So not having the blind bid, but starting with 45 seconds for people to get their continuous bids in, and you bid it up like a traditional auction. You might bid a couple times, and there's the bidding will always extend by another 5 seconds at the end if someone had bid. So, let's say you bid for somebody and you get through the bidding period in the last 5 seconds, you bid $1 more to take it to 40, then it's going to give the rest of the league another 5 seconds to try to get in 41 or whatever. And then let's say somebody gets in 41, then 5 seconds from there, it could go on and on and on for a little while sometimes, especially for the star players. But as we learned last year, it's not going to be that big of a deal. And we found that the second day worked really well and we liked it. So we're moving to that. In 2024, league year number 4, we are going to have the option of having a 4-season contract. Okay, not just a max of 3. So somebody who's brought to their option year in 2024 can be extended out. We can't just insert this now because people would have auctioned with a different strategy last year. And it can't be next year because A's become B's next year, then it'll become C's. So effectively, the first year we'll do that, have a 4-year contract options in 2024. Next up is we're going to move to a weekly schedule as opposed to quarterly. Do this just more engaging, number one, but also it enables regular injuries. So, one issue that we clearly had, I thought, was that we were all relying on our starting lineups too much, not relying on depth enough. And that means we tend to store up a lot of guys who are $1 players to sort of make it our minor league team. We have our minor league team, and then we have our major league team. The major league team being our starting 2022 roughly, and then everybody else in the roster is a minor league team. Well, by having multi-week injuries, it means you better get some depth. You better have a depth piece along your offensive line, right? Either a guy who plays a bunch of positions who can move around, or a couple guys, different positions. You got to plan ahead for that. Your second quarterback's going to matter. The amount of attempts and rushes is going to matter too for those guys. Make sure you check the Stratomatic rules on injuries. But we need to. This really comes from the fact that we want teams to rely on their depth more. And without injuries, it becomes sort of an arcade game. You sort of play the same way, every day for 16 weeks. The same game, same strategy. You do it over and over again. Injuries all of a sudden means you have to explore multiple pathways and have to think a lot more about how you spend your money. And then also think a bit more about how you play your games and how to find pathways to win when your major pathway that you had sort of designed when you designed your team breaks down due to injuries. There's more about injuries as we go along here. 16-week schedule. We'll come back to injuries in a second, but now we'll talk about playoffs for a second. So we're expanding the playoffs now to 12 teams instead of 10. And what that's going to enable us to do is one of the concerns we have is we want to address is making sure that those that are at the top of the standings are fighting for playoff spots still, not just a battle for that last playoff spot and everybody else sort of has nothing to play for. No, everybody's going to have something to play for. When you go to 12, it allows you to have a wild card round that starts at seed 7, and you see it right here. 7 versus 12, 8, 11, 9, 10. So that gives you a second round where 4, 5, and 6 get one bye. So if you want to buy, you got to be 4, 5, or 6, and it's worth getting a buy. If you want 2 buys, second and third seed, get a buy all the way to the corner. And the number 1 seed, if you can get number 1, you sort of win the President's Trophy. It's a buy to the semi. Not only is it a buy, but your players heal during these weeks. So if you had an injury, a 4-week injury to somebody, well, you're getting 3 weeks of healing here if you have the number 1 seed. So if we went back to the regular season, well, your guy's probably ready. Okay. Meanwhile, everybody else who's rated below you has a chance of picking up injuries as they're playing games while your guys just heal. So you want that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 seed. It matters a lot. And then, of course, in the 7 to 12 range, you're fighting just to get in the playoffs and hopefully getting the sort of 5 or 6 seed. This should create a lot more excitement as we go deeper into the league, deeper into the schedule. Slight change to how we designate QB2s. QB2s, okay, well, are anybody that's not within the top 24 pass attempts in the National Football League last year. Okay, so QB1s are top 24. However, you may still play anybody who has over 100 attempts. So all we're trying to do here is we don't want hoarding of quarterbacks too much, but it was too limiting. Only having one QB of greater than 100 pass attempts just limited the amount of QBs you shut out, with the possibility of bringing a lot of QBs on your roster who deserve roster spots. So this is the way we're going to handle it to sort of balance it. Everybody can only have one of the top 24. After that, you have as many QB2s as you want. And oh, by the way, any of those QB2s that over 100 pass attempts, they can play. This should balance it out nicely. The increase in roster spots is why we have the increase in salary. The increase in injuries is why we have the increase in roster spots. So we go from 3 to 4 halfbacks, 3 to 4 fullbacks, blocking back tight ends, 5 to 6 linebackers, 3 to 4 cornerbacks. One of those could be a DB. Okay. But you do have to have a minimum of 4 that can be rated here, minimum 3 that can be rated there. You can't use one DB in both spots. Okay. So you're going to have 7 all day between your cornerbacks, and your safeties. We're making sure that the franchise automatically inherits the quarterback receiver fumble rating of the quarterback. We're not having the same rating across the league this year. It's important to note. Coaches' files, when you get them in, you got to use your slots. You can't leave them blank for me to have to go in and get all your subs in there. You got to do it. Make sure you do it yourselves. It takes a long time to try to fix those. So mandated that. We're talking about injuries again, but nothing else really to say. Okay, I think that's it. Any questions, of course, it's best to message me directly on the DM as opposed to any other way. So please do that if you have questions, and we will move forward with more season activities here in the coming days. Thanks for watching, everybody.
You've been watching CBS Sports coverage of the National Football League.